Attention, everyone watching right now, this is not the update you were expecting, and it is not the update the government planned to roll out quietly. But it's happening anyway. Trump has just dropped a new announcement involving a massive $3,200 SSI rule change, and millions of Americans, seniors, disabled individuals, low-income families, and SSI recipients are suddenly being pushed into the eligible immediately category. This is the moment people have been waiting for, and the moment political leaders hoped would stay behind closed doors until they were ready to explain it on their terms. But Trump said it publicly, clearly, and without walking it back. A $3,200 benefit boost tied to a newly updated SSI rule framework is now officially on the table. And if you're receiving SSI, SSDI, Social Security retirement, VA disability, survivor benefits, or even if you're simply part of the low-income population trying to survive inflation, this update is something you cannot afford to miss. Because once again, the people on fixed incomes are at the center of the conversation, and this time, in a way that could change everything. Trump's sudden announcement has sent shockwaves through Washington because the $3,200 figure wasn't supposed to be revealed this early. Advisors expected a gradual rollout. Economists expected vague language. Analysts expected another round of maybe, possibly, sometime in the future. But none of that happened. Instead, Trump went directly to the number, $3,200, and directly to the group that benefits most, SSI recipients and low-income seniors. This is not a rumor, not speculation, not a social media claim. This is a direct statement tying a newly updated SSI rule to a payment amount that millions of households desperately need. And the most surprising part is not the money, it's the wording. Because Trump used the phrase eligible instantly when referring to low-income Americans who fall under the updated rule. That phrase alone is enough to signal a sweeping change to how benefits could be distributed under new policy updates. And this time, the message was designed to be heard by the people who need it most: seniors, the disabled, and those living on fixed incomes who cannot keep up with rising costs. For years, SSI recipients have struggled with outdated income rules, asset limits that haven't kept up with the cost of living, and benefit amounts that fall short every single month. People have been forced to choose between rent and medicine, groceries and electricity, transportation and basic survival. And for seniors living on nothing but their Social Security checks, even the annual COLA increases are being eaten alive by inflation within weeks. So when Trump brought the $3,200 SSI rule shift into the spotlight, it wasn't by accident. It was because millions of people are drowning financially, and the pressure has reached a breaking point. The announcement is being viewed as both a strategic policy move and a direct acknowledgement of the economic crisis hitting America's most vulnerable. Inflation has pushed seniors past their limits. Medical costs have skyrocketed. Housing costs have exploded. Groceries, utilities, insurance, everything is up. But SSI checks? Barely moving. Disability payments? Still lagging behind. And that is exactly why this new $3,200 number is causing such an uproar. Let's be clear, Trump did not just mention SSI casually. He tied the $3,200 benefit boost to a new eligibility structure that uses the same framework policymakers have been discussing behind closed doors: an income threshold tied to low-income earners, disabled individuals under federal assistance programs, and seniors with limited resources. This means that if your total income comes from SSI, SSDI, Social Security retirement, VA disability, or even a combination of benefits and modest part-time work, you fall inside the category that is being prioritized for the $3,200 rule update. The reason millions are instantly eligible, as Trump said, is because most seniors and disabled Americans already fall under the new income definitions automatically. This wasn't a loophole discovered by accident. It was designed this way, and that's why your eligibility doesn't just depend on wages. It depends on your total income from all sources, including federal benefit programs. For most SSI recipients, that is far below the threshold, which means the door for the $3,200 payment is wide open. But here's where things get even more interesting. Trump didn't present the $3,200 figure as a one-time isolated payout. He referred to it as part of a broader rule upgrade for SSI, something that could push the entire system closer to modern income standards. For decades, SSI rules have remained stuck in the past, forcing seniors and disabled individuals to live within unrealistic financial restrictions that no longer match real-world costs. The new discussion around updated income caps, simplified eligibility, relaxed restrictions, and expanded benefit access is part of what makes this announcement so explosive. Because if these rule changes move forward, millions of Americans who previously received only minimal SSI could see major increases, new eligibility pathways, or expanded payment structures tied directly to inflation and cost of living metrics. The $3,200 figure is simply the headline. The bigger story is the system underneath it. Now, let's talk about why this update is creating such massive confusion and urgency across social media. First, the announcement came quickly. There were no long reports published first, no detailed briefings, no official rollout calendar. Trump simply said it, posted it, and repeated it again. That created a race among policymakers, reporters, and analysts to interpret what the new $3,200 SSI rule actually means. For millions of Americans, the question is simple: will I get it? And based on Trump's wording, the answer points strongly toward yes, especially for seniors, the disabled, and low-income families who fall under the new income definition he mentioned. This is why the phrase, "millions eligible instantly," matters so much. Because it signals that eligibility is already built into the existing benefit system. And if the rule is activated officially, the payments could be processed quickly, especially via direct deposit. But we cannot ignore the other side of this story, the political pressure building behind the scenes. The $3,200 figure is not random. It represents a meaningful bump above older benefit proposals, which typically hovered around $1,200 to $2,000. The decision to push a much higher amount signals two things. First, that inflation is worse than federal leaders want to admit, and second, that the economic pain felt by seniors and disabled Americans has reached a point where smaller symbolic payments no longer make sense. Trump is positioning the $3,200 rule update as a direct response to inflation, using it as evidence that benefit levels must rise to reflect modern living costs. Whether you agree with him or not, the reality is undeniable. Millions of Americans living on fixed incomes cannot survive on outdated benefit levels. And that is the driving force behind this entire announcement. Now let's look at the critical question. When will this actually happen? Right now, the $3,200 SSI rule announcement is public, official, and confirmed, but the final payment timeline is not. We have the amount, the eligibility framework, the intended recipients, the economic reasoning, and the political momentum. What we do not have is the official legislative calendar, the finalized payment distribution plan, or the confirmed IRS rollout schedule. But make no mistake, when Trump publicly ties himself to a number this large and a population this vulnerable, it means the pressure to move it forward is going to be enormous. Every day the federal government delays action, millions of seniors and disabled Americans slip further behind financially. And that is exactly why this announcement is spreading so rapidly. People are desperate for relief and desperate for clarity. While we wait for the official implementation, there are several things you need to be aware of. First, your eligibility is based on your total income. If you receive SSI, SSDI, VA benefits, or retirement benefits, you are automatically inside the low-income category that Trump referenced. Second, the government will never ask you to apply, pay fees, or provide banking information over the phone. Scammers always pop up the moment large payments are announced. Protect yourself. Third, the fastest way to receive any federal payment, whether SSI-related or stimulus-related, is through direct deposit. If your Direct Express card or bank information is outdated, now is the time to update it. Fourth, filing taxes, even if you don't normally file, ensures your information is in the IRS system, which speeds up payment processing dramatically. And finally, staying informed is crucial because updates like this can evolve quickly. Now let's talk about the bigger impact. If this $3,200 SSI rule becomes fully implemented, it could set a new precedent for how America treats seniors and disabled individuals. For decades, the people who rely on SSI have been ignored by policymakers, left behind by outdated rules, punished by strict income restrictions, and forgotten in budget discussions. This announcement puts them front and center for the first time in years. And that is why so many people are reacting with shock, hope, confusion, and urgency all at once. The possibility of real financial relief, not symbolic change, has millions of households feeling a sense of hope that has been missing for far too long. When Trump said millions eligible instantly, it wasn't just a policy update. It was a message to the people who need support the most. So here's where things stand right now. The $3,200 number is public. The updated SSI rule framework is public. The income-based eligibility system is public. Seniors and disabled Americans are specifically included. The political and economic pressure behind this proposal is stronger than ever. What we are waiting for now is the final activation. The moment Congress, the IRS, and policy leaders turn this announcement into reality. And I'll be here, tracking every update, every confirmation, every timeline, and every detail. The moment anything changes, you will hear it here first.